Fat Bear Week began, well, I guess the first Fat Bear event began in 2014. I was looking at webcam comments of the bears at Brooks River in Katmai National Park, and I saw a side-by-side image of the same bear from early summer and late summer, and something clicked in my brain where I thought, it would be kind of cool to have people decide who they thought was the fattest and most successful bear of the year. I brainstormed that idea with a couple of other park rangers, and we put on a one-day event called Fat Bear Tuesday. It proved to be so popular and so well received that I decided to expand it to a whole week, and that's how Fat Bear Week began. And it's really a celebration of the ecosystem that supports the bears, the richness of it, the abundance of it, the return of of millions of salmon every year that support the ecosystem, and an opportunity to learn more about the lives of the brown bears that make this place home. Brown bears are hibernators, so they need to sequester ample fat reserves before they go into their den so they can survive winter hibernation. So it's a way to learn more and consider more about their stories and the ways that they survive in this wild environment.
So why do you think people are so fascinated with bears?
There's a lot of aspects of bears that we can relate to. They're omnivores, so they eat a wide variety of foods like people. They like a lot of the same foods that people do, for example, berries and salmon. But more than that, I mean, they're just charismatic creatures. And at Brooks River in Katmai National Park, we get to know them on an individual level. We can watch them through the webcams year after year, and many of the bears come back to the river after they're weaned by their mothers and they grow into adults. So we get to see many of these bears through their whole entire lives. We get to see their different personalities and dispositions, and we get to learn their stories of resiliency and perseverance and hardship. And it's really a fantastic and somewhat rare wildlife watching opportunity to get to know these animals on such a personal level.
And what kind of engagement have you been seeing from people around the world?
It's been wonderful to see people learn about the bears in Katmai and its salmon, but then take it a step further and really become stewards of this wild landscape. Katmai National Park is one of the largest national parks in the United States, and it is part of the Bristol Bay sort of run of sockeye salmon, which is the last great salmon run left on Earth, and it supports, more than 2,000 bears inside of the park. So it's this extremely rich landscape. And when we look at, all of the stories about climate change and habitat loss and extinction, we should also remind ourselves that there are many things worth saving in the world. And Katmai is one of those places where its ecosystem is operating at its fully realized potential. And the people connect to the bears through the webcams and this place just as strongly as they would if they were to visit in person.
Now, we see similar nature competitions like this every year. There's the New Zealand Bird of the Year. Over here we have Australia's favourite tree. These garner some very passionate followers. Sometimes they're a little too passionate. Have you had those kinds of experiences during Fat Bear Week?
Every bear has a devoted fan base. Thankfully, Fat Bear Week has remained good-natured. We encourage debate. We encourage people to talk about the different bears and why they are deserving of the vote. So we encourage people to really essentially campaign for their Fat Bear candidate. Yeah, we haven't had anything really devolve into shouting matches associated with Fat Bear Week, at least not that I know of, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
That's a relief. Well, what criteria should people keep in mind while voting for their favourite bear?
Fat Bear Week is a subjective event. There's 12 bears in the competition at the start, but we winnow that down to eventually when there's just 2 contenders, and then we crown the Fat Bear champion. So it's not just about size, although that can be a consideration. If you want to just vote for the bear you think is the biggest and the fattest, you can certainly do that. But we encourage people to learn more about the individual lives of the bears themselves, such as like, a mother bear, maybe like number 128, who has a nickname called Grazer. She has 2 giant, almost 3-year-old cubs. So she not only has to get fat for herself, but also protect her cubs and care for them. But then you have an older bear like number 480, who is nicknamed Otis. He is an older adult male. He's no longer as dominant as he once was. His dental condition is not really great right now. He's missing a couple of canines. A lot of his other teeth are severely worn down, but he still makes a living. He knows how to do it. He's a veteran at the river. So there's that aspect of his life. And then you have younger bears, for instance, that are moving up through the ranks. And each one of these bears, again, shows us and illustrates stories of survival and resiliency and perseverance and what can be a very competitive environment.
Now, you do live chats where you talk people through what's happening on this live feed. To the untrained eye, we see bears sitting around eating salmon, doing their thing. But talk us through some of the dynamics that are at play during these moments.
You never really know what you're going to see when you tune into the webcams at Brooks River, because it is raw, sort of unfiltered nature. Most of the time it's bears, sitting around waiting for fish, but sometimes you'll see bears fighting. Sometimes you'll see them competing with one another in different ways. A lot of times you'll see more friendly social interactions like play between the bears. So we get to see a full range of the full spectrum, really, of bear behaviors on the webcams. Everything from those dominance interactions between big adult males to the competition maybe moms face in defending their cubs, and the playful moments between younger bears where they have a full stomach and they're feeling energetic and they just really want a good wrestling match.
So, Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot now. Who is your pick to win?
This year, I did endorse Bear 747. He's one of the largest brown bears in the world. He probably weighs about 1,400 pounds. We don't know exactly because we don't weigh the bears, so we can just make some educated guesses. But he's a real giant. He's the largest bear that I have ever seen. He hasn't won Fat Bear Week that many times. He's actually only won the competition once. So maybe my endorsement doesn't carry that much weight. We'll see if he goes far this year. Tomorrow, he's up against a very large adult male. He's matched against him, number 32 Chunk. And I'm not sure how that matchup is going to play out. It's up to the voters, of course.
Such great names. You certainly have a sensation on your hands here, Mike, and we appreciate you taking the time to talk us through it. Thank you.
You're welcome, and happy Fat Bear Week.